evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Tension is rising amid reports that senior U.S. politician Nancy Pelosi is heading to Taiwan, despite warnings from Beijing. Hong Kong parents can apply for Sinovac jabs for children as young as 6 months. And the High Court has allowed reporting on the pre-trial proceedings of a national security case. Beijing said it would be stupid and dangerous for U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to visit Taiwan. The third highest ranking figure in the U.S. government is reportedly heading to the island, although she herself has not made any announcement. On the same day, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was tipped to visit Taiwan. The People's Liberation Army decided to put on a show of force. In a 2-minute clip posted on social media, the PLA was seen conducting live fire drills in coastal Fujian province, just across Taiwan. The United States believed China would take further steps in the coming days.
These potential steps from China could include military provocations, such as firing missiles in the Taiwan Strait or around Taiwan, operations that break historical norms, such as large-scale air entry into Taiwan's air defense identification zone.
But Kirby dodged questions over whether the Biden administration had tried to persuade Pelosi to scrap her plan to go to Taiwan. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken insisted it would be entirely on Beijing if tensions escalate. That drew a quick rebuke from China's ambassador to the United Nations.
Legitimate for the Chinese government, for the Chinese military to take any action to prevent Taiwan to go further down the wrong direction, namely towards independence. As we said, we will not allow any room for that.
In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Hua Chunying said it would be stupid, dangerous, and unnecessary for Pelosi to visit Taiwan. Taiwanese media suggested Pelosi would touch down in Taipei tonight and meet the island's president Tsai Ing-wen tomorrow, before leaving for South Korea the same afternoon. The intense speculation surrounding Pelosi's unannounced stop has detracted attention from her visit of Malaysia. She met politicians and had lunch with Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob. As tensions in the region simmer, 4 American warships have been deployed to waters east of Taiwan. They include the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan and a support fleet, a guided missile cruiser, and a destroyer. A U.S. naval official described the deployment as normal and routine, but the ships are ready to respond to any eventuality. This comes amid heightened military action on both sides of the Taiwan Strait, with Chinese warplanes hovering in the region, while the aircraft carriers Liaoning and Shandong have left their home ports. In Hong Kong, children as young as 6 months will be able to get Sinovac jabs against COVID. Experts also recommended lowering the minimum age for BioNTech shots, but efforts are being made to get the correct dosage. Joanna Ho reports.
From Thursday morning, parents can make reservations online for children aged between 6 months and 3 years to get Sinovac vaccines. The free jabs will be administered at community vaccination centers, designated outpatient clinics under the hospital authority, and at some certain private clinics. This comes after a vaccine panel recommended Sinovac and BioNTech shots for children as young as 6 months. For Sinovac, those aged between 6 months and under 3 years are advised to receive a full dose. But younger children will not be able to receive BioNTech jabs yet until a baby version is found. That's 1/10 of an adult dose.
I understand from the experts that diluting the adult dose of BioNTech to provide vaccination for the younger age group under 3 is technically there are some difficulties. So the government is trying to liaising with the pharmaceutical company to discuss about the purchasing of the pediatric formulation.
Speaking on a radio program this morning, Lau Yulong, who heads the Scientific Committee on Vaccine Preventable Diseases, urged the authorities to purchase the baby version of the BioNTech vaccine available on the market. Lau hopes that the authorities can try extracting 1/10 of the BioNTech adult dosage if they fail to buy the baby version. The death of a 22-month-old toddler from COVID yesterday has led to renewed calls for children to be vaccinated before a possible COVID surge in winter. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Daily COVID cases registered in Hong Kong dropped slightly for the second consecutive day, but still remain about 4,000. There were 4,123 infections, 234 of which were imported. There were also 11 COVID-related deaths. 14 schools were advised to suspend individual classes for a week. Another school, Yale CHK Kin Ming Nursery School in Cheung Kwan O, was asked to suspend all in-person lessons for a week after reporting 12 infections. For the first time, reporting of the pre-trial proceedings of a national security case will be allowed. This comes after the High Court quashed a magistrate's decision to restrict reporting. Janice Low has the details.
The case involved the Hong Kong Alliance, the now disbanded group which used to organize the June 4th vigils. 3 alliance members were charged with inciting subversion of state power under the national security law. Former Vice Chairwoman Chow Hang Tung filed a judicial review against reporting restrictions. Chow and the Department of Justice differed in their interpretation of the word shall in the magistrate's ordinance on whether it imposes a mandatory duty on the magistrate to lift reporting restrictions if requested. High Court Judge Alex Lee ruled today that the magistrate mistakenly relied on a discretion that he does not have under the ordinance. Lee added that the magistrate had erred and the decision went against the principle of justice regarding the access to or reporting of court proceedings. The Bill of Rights states that the media and public can be excluded from a hearing in special circumstances where publicity would prejudice the interests of justice. But Lee did not see the ban on reporting as strictly necessary in the interests of justice. He ordered the magistrate to lift the restriction when Chow appears again on August 17. Janice Low, HKIBC.
Temporary measures have been enforced in government performance venues to enhance safety. This comes amid an ongoing investigation into a tragedy which shocked fans as they watched their idols in a boy band perform at the Hong Kong Coliseum last week. Macy Mock reports.
Police returned to the Coliseum in Hong Kong today to continue their investigation into the collapse of a giant video screen which injured 2 dancers during a concert by the popular boy band Mirror last Thursday. The Leisure and Cultural Services Department, meanwhile, imposed short-term safety measures at all its performing venues, including the Coliseum. Suspended mechanical devices which swing, rotate, or carry people have been temporarily banned. Moving lights, mirror balls, and projectors are exempted. People who hire venues have to check the safety of the stage design, performers, and mechanical devices not provided by the department. They also have to inspect mechanical devices daily. It is unclear how long the measures will last, but the department said most performances in the next 2 months will not be affected.
Moving forward, I think it's important for the government to open a professional dialogue with people, practitioners from our industry, so that we can have a sensible and also a constructive conversation to how to make the performance industry a safer place.
In another development, the Hong Kong Theatre Arts Practitioners Union has urged the government to check whether the contractor and subcontractors in the Mirror concert are suitable to work in other shows. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
The leader of the al-Qaeda terrorist group, Ayman alSawari, has been killed in a U.S. drone attack in the Afghan capital, Kabul.
Now we have eliminated the emir of al-Qaeda. He will never again allow Afghanistan to become a terrorist safe haven, because he is gone, and we're going to make sure that nothing else happens.
The 71-year-old Sawari was the right-hand man of Osama bin Laden, who was killed by U.S. soldiers in Pakistan 11 years ago. The two were accused of organizing assaults on U.S. targets. These included the 9/11 attacks in 2001, when hijacked planes crashed into the World Trade Center in New York and the Pentagon, killing 3,000 people. Washington retaliated by declaring a war on terror, which killed hundreds of thousands of civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan and destroyed their economies. Retail sales in Hong Kong have declined for the second straight month. Sales in June dropped 1.2% from a year ago to $27.7 billion. But the rate of decline was slower than the 1.6% recorded in May. Consumers mainly stayed away from electronic goods, as well as vehicles and motor parts. The government is hoping that the second installment of consumption vouchers will boost spending. But consumer sentiment remains uncertain because of COVID and a weak economy. The Hang Seng Index fell to a two-month low today on reports that U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was making her way to Taiwan. The benchmark dropped 2.4% as jittery investors awaited developments. E-commerce giant Alibaba lost almost 3%, while food delivery platform Meituan was down 2.1%. Profit-taking saw HSBC giving up 1.6%, a day after reporting better-than-expected first-half profits. There was chaos at the bank's first meeting in 3 years with investors, after many people were unable to get into the venue. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng ended the day down 476 points. To the top 10 active stocks, Tencent lost $4.60, Alibaba shed $2.55, while the tracker fund was down 48 cents. AIA was down $2.15, while BYD was down $8.80. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro was at 8.02, the pound sterling at 9.59, while the Australian dollar at 5.44. And finally, in Europe, the London FTSE currently is up by a point. It's a fair featuring food, but eating is banned at the venue. Hong Kong's Food Expo opens next Thursday, but for the second year, no tasting is allowed. Isaac Lee reports.
Tasting was an important feature of food fairs in the pre-COVID era. But for the second year in a row, no one can eat or drink at the Food Expo, which opens at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai next Thursday. Suggestions for a designated area for food tasting were turned down by the organizer. The Trade Development Council, the TDC, said the idea is not feasible for large-scale exhibitions.
The public shows, just for Food Expo as an example, hundreds of thousands of visitors will come in the show within the 5 days. And for a trade event, it is much fewer visitors or traders coming inside the fairground.
Exhibitors are worried that the ban will discourage customers from buying their products to take home.
It would be a lot better if someone could try it. We got the cocktail here, but then someone can't sample it. So it doesn't work out. So someone wants to know the taste, and then they can't try it.
The owner of this ice cream shop said it will provide smaller portions at a discount for customers to take away.
Ice cream tastes best when it is eaten on the spot.
But visitors to the Food Expo won't be allowed to do that. Instead, they will be given bags with dry ice so that they can enjoy their ice cream after leaving the venue. Isaac Lee, HKIBC.
On to the weather now. It will be cloudy with a few showers and thunderstorms. Showers will increase gradually, heavy at times tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 27 and 31 degrees. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Thanks for watching. Good night.